There is a palace in Norway that does not exist. It stands. You can walk to it. You can touch its walls, climb its stairs, stand in its great hall. It is unmistakably physically real. But according to every official record produced in the last 300 years, it is not there. Imagine your home. Now imagine that every map, every record, every official document simply left it out. Not by mistake, on purpose, for 300 years. That is what happened here. It appears on no map, no survey, no tax record, no census, no royal land registry. In a country that has documented its territory with obsessive precision since the 1600s, this single structure has been left off every document ever created. Not lost, not forgotten, erased. And the question that has haunted the few researchers who know about it is simple. Who erases a building this size? And how do you keep it erased for 300 years? The palace sits in a valley in the western fjords of Norway, in a region so remote that even today the nearest road ends several kilometers away. It was built sometime in the early 1600s. We know this from the architecture, the materials, and the methods used, all consistent with that period. What we do not know is who built it, or for whom, because no document records its construction. And in Norway, that is almost impossible. By the 1600s, the Norwegian and Danish crowns kept meticulous records. Every significant structure was surveyed for taxation. Every noble estate was registered. Every parcel of land had an owner recorded in the royal registry. This palace, large, elaborate, clearly the home of someone wealthy and powerful, has no entry anywhere. It is as if everyone involved in its creation agreed from the very beginning that it would never be written down. The first modern researcher to study the palace was a Norwegian historian named Erik Sandvik, who came across it in 1974 entirely by accident. He was researching old fjord settlements when a local fisherman mentioned, almost in passing, the big empty house up the valley that the old people said you were not supposed to mark on anything. Sandvik thought it was a folk story, a local superstition. He hiked up the valley to see for himself. What he found stopped him cold. A palace, 3 stories, intact, standing in a valley that, according to every map he carried, contained nothing but forest. He took photographs, he made sketches, he recorded measurements, and when he returned to the regional archive to find out what this place was, he found nothing. No record, no name, no owner, no history. The palace that he had photographed with his own camera officially did not exist. Sandvik spent the next 11 years trying to find a single official document that acknowledged the palace. He searched tax records, land registries, church records, military surveys, trade documents. He wrote to archives in Oslo, in Copenhagen, in Stockholm. He found references to everything around the palace, the valley, the river, the neighboring settlements, all documented. But the palace itself, at the center of all these documented features, was a blank space. As if a careful hand had gone through 3 centuries of records and made certain that one structure was never named, he did find one thing. In a Danish archive, in a register of royal correspondence from 1681, he found a single sealed instruction. It did not name the palace. It did not give a location. It said only this: the place in the Western Valley is not to be recorded. By order. This instruction is to be obeyed by all who follow. It was signed not by a king, not by a noble, but with a single symbol. A symbol Sandvik had seen only once before, carved above the main entrance of the palace itself. Here is where it gets strange. The symbol was not Norwegian. It was not Danish. It did not match any heraldic crest, any family seal, any royal mark in any registry Sandvik could find. It appeared in exactly 2 places in the entire historical record. Above the door of a palace that does not officially exist, and on a single royal instruction commanding that it never be written down. Whoever carried that symbol had the authority to reach into the most meticulous record-keeping system in Europe and remove one building from history. And they had a reason to. In part 2, I am going to tell you what Erik Sandvik found in the room beneath the palace, and why, after 11 years of searching, he stopped looking and asked that his own research never be published. Erik Sandvik got inside the palace in the summer of 1985. He had been inside before, walked its halls, photographed its rooms, but this time he went in looking for one thing: the symbol, the same mark carved above the door and signed on a royal order commanding the building be erased. He wanted to know where else it appeared. He found it in the great hall first, carved into the stone above the fireplace, then in the stairwell, then in each of the upper rooms. Once per room, always at the same height, always facing the entrance. The symbol was everywhere, as if whoever built the palace wanted to be certain that anyone who entered any room would see it immediately. A warning, or a claim of ownership. Sandvik could not tell which. The deepest room was at the bottom. Below the ground floor, behind a stairwell that did not appear in the building's visible layout, was a cellar. And the cellar was different from everything above it. The walls were older. The stone was rougher. The construction predated the palace by what Sandvik estimated to be several centuries. The palace had not been built on empty ground. It had been built to enclose this room. But it was what the room contained that Sandvik could not explain. It was furnished, not decorated, not preserved as a shrine. Furnished for living. A bed frame against one wall, a table, a chair, shelves cut into the stone, cooking implements near a small hearth, everything arranged with care, everything in its place, as if someone lived down here, or was expected to. The objects were the wrong age. That was the detail that unsettled Sandvik most. The palace above was 400 years old, but the items in the cellar, the table, the chair, the implements, did not match. Some looked older, some looked impossibly newer, as if the room had been used and reused and quietly maintained across centuries by people who never wrote down that they were doing it. The bed was made 400 years after the palace was sealed from history, in a cellar that appeared on no plan, beneath a building that appeared on no map. The bed was made. The hearth held ash that did not look 400 years old. Someone had been keeping this room ready. For whom? Sandvik never discovered. Sandvik photographed the cellar extensively. Those photographs are the only part of his research he ever showed to another person. A single colleague, years later, who described the room as the most ordinary and the most frightening thing he had ever seen. Ordinary, because it was just a room someone might live in. Frightening, because every record insisted no one ever had. No one was born here. No one died here. No one was taxed, counted, or named here. And yet someone had made the bed. In 1985, Erik Sandvik stopped his research. He had spent 11 years documenting a palace that officially did not exist, and then, abruptly, he filed everything away and asked that none of it ever be published. He never explained why in writing. The one colleague he confided in said only that Sandvik told him this. Some records are kept, and some records are kept from being made. I used to think those were the same kind of decision. They are not. The second kind is made to protect us. I have decided to respect it. He never returned to the valley. He died in 2009. His research was donated to a regional archive, where it remains, uncatalogued, unpublished, and according to the archive's own policy, available for viewing only by an appointment that, so far, no one has been granted. The palace still stands in its valley in the western fjords. It still appears on no map, no survey, no registry. 300 years after a single symbol commanded its erasure, the instruction is still somehow being obeyed. The symbol is still carved above its door, and below it, beneath the floor, in a room that appears on no plan, a bed is still made, a hearth still set, waiting for someone the records insist never existed. We do not know who built the palace. We do not know who ordered it erased. We do not know what the symbol means, or who wore it, or why a building was raised to enclose a single furnished room. We know only that someone decided this place was safer, unrecorded, than remembered. And for 300 years, everyone has agreed. What do you think that room was kept ready for? And who do you think still tends it? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone. Some palaces are built to be seen. This one was built to keep something from being found. If you want to know about the palace, whose every door was bricked up from the inside, with the owner still living within it, that story is coming next. Subscribe, and I will see you there. One final thing. The palace, the historian, and the symbol in this story are fictional constructions built from real historical patterns. The question underneath this story is worth asking.